So I think she's trying to call in there.
Okay. Well, let's all just hang on a minute. So for those of you who are alums, maybe while Dr. Nimon is trying to get connected, can you tell us a little bit about your experience in the program?
Sure. So I'm Dr. Mandolin Mull. I was in the cohort of fall 2015. I graduated in fall of 2018. So Dr. Nimon was my dissertation chair. She is my mentor. I am a Nimon minion. And I will say, you know, she called me up. I'm in the middle of reaccreditation here in a pandemic. I'm in Northern Illinois, where I am department chair of a School of Business. And she called me up and asked if I would join here. And she said, I'm so sorry, I didn't know you were in the middle of reaccreditation. And I said, anything I can do to talk about how great our program is at UT Tyler, I'm happy to do. I'm a very large diploma holder here that showcases, and it's not because it's my PhD, it's because of this program. I am a huge endorser. What I found from the faculty at UT Tyler was that they truly live what they teach. What I mean by that is they're truly developmental. And so our jobs as HRD scholars and scholar practitioners is to go out and develop people, groups, and organizations. And there's no doubt about it that that is what we've been able to do because of the wonderful investments from the faculty at UT Tyler. And it looks like Dr. Nimon is now live on the mic. Dr. Nimon?
I think so. Am I still screeching?
No,
Yeah.
you're good.
You're good.
Okay, well, that's just a preamble for how it works. When you think of me, you can think of screeching. So thanks for getting all this started. It's a nice thing to have lots of support, which is kind of what the PhD program was all about. This is just a really good example of how you cannot do this alone. So you can see that I brought lots of support because something always fails. And I think that's the most important aspect of a PhD program is learning to be adaptable. And so I do Zoom from this office all the time. I don't know why, you know, today it didn't work, but you have to be adaptable and think, oh, what could I do? Oh, I could use my phone. So anyway, so it's the beginning. So I haven't heard anything you've been saying because I've been stressed out about getting this set up. So Alicia kind of let me know where I need to plug back in.
Sure. Mandolin was just giving us a little recap about her experience in the program. So if you would like to just go ahead and begin your PowerPoint, we're ready.
Okay, and you're my mouse, right?
Brittany will be your mouse today.
Oh, Brittany will be my mouse. Okay. So Brittany, I think we're on the first slide. So if we can go to the agenda slide, which is really where I'm going to camp out for a while. Okay, so let me kind of take a breath and get myself back together. So this really is an exciting time, and I'm so happy that you're here. We've got some other folks here that I'll kind of introduce throughout the session, some people that are really important to our program, and a student, and of course you've already met Mandolin as our alum. But this is a really great opportunity. You've got the opportunity to develop the knowledge, skills, and relationships, and you're already starting to get a sense of those relationships, to become a scholar or scholar practitioner in the field of HRD. And I really want to emphasize the scholar practitioner. There are a lot of doctorate programs, and I think when I was kind of where some of you guys are sitting and looking to get a doctorate, I didn't quite understand that there were multiple ways to get a doctorate. I mean, I knew you could be a medical doctor, but I didn't have any big desire to do that. But I didn't understand that there were PhDs, there were doctorate of educations, there's doctorates of business administration, DBAs. So there's lots of different ways to approach getting a doctorate. And a PhD is going to be heavily focused on scholarship, which is why we say we are here to make scholars and scholar practitioners. If you're not interested in research, then we are not the doctorate program for you. There very well may be other programs that might be more appropriate for you if you're not interested in research. And so that's the core of this. When we get into the curriculum, you're really going to see that come to play, that research is, I don't know, probably 2/3 of our curriculum. I should know that since I teach the quantitative methods aspect, but it's a big part of what we do. And then it's about the field of HRD. And so, Brittany, if you can click on that hot link that says not HRD program, but the first one. Yeah, we'll just go through these in order to keep me honest. So, go back to that. Go back to HR. There you go. Just stay there. Okay. And so Greg Wong is here. And Greg, could you just very quickly kind of talk about your HRD wheel and the difference between HRD and HRM?
Yes, thank you. Here's a big wheel for two closely related fields. The volume is okay? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you great, Greg.
Thank you. My research resulted in a theoretical piece, but let me put this in a normal language. One part, I define HRD as shaping mechanism, and the other part is scaling part. And in the organization reality, shaping is mostly completed in the change. On the right-hand side, you see the change parts, change in organization culture or values, beliefs, assumptions, and a readiness for change is part of the change. And then ethics, social, and political responsibilities, that's the change part for HRD. And then the other part, I call it scaling, which is learning, knowledge acquisition, and of course include the unlearning part or unscaling part. This is critically different from what HR or human resource management does, which is focused on operations and maintenance of human resources, payroll, firing, hiring, those kind of operations. That's a big picture and a long story in a short statement.
That's great. Thanks, Greg. And so that's an important aspect, because when you come in to apply to the program, one of the things that we'll be doing is kind of trying to understand what your career goal is. And again, we're not for everybody. I think we have a great program for people that are interested in what we do, but we're focused in on on the wheel part, on the right side of the wheel. We're focused on developing people, developing employees, and not focused so much on the management. So that's an important distinction that you'll hear us talk about. So Brittany, if you will go to the arrow, perfect, that's great. Okay, so this is an exciting thing. We are one, I think we're the only one, I should say one of the only, just in case there's something that happens that I don't know, and Madeline can tell me if I'm wrong. The only HRD program that has a terminal degree. Now, I would say I didn't always understand what a terminal degree meant, but terminal degree means kind of like your end goal. So like the last degree. So a PhD in HRD or your terminal degree. In other fields like art, it could be a Master of Fine Arts. That would be a terminal degree. So we're the only PhD program that I know of that's in a college of business in the United States. Now, what they say on the other side of the pond, ocean-wise, like England and countries like that, it's very common for HRD programs to be in a college of business. It's not so common here in the United States because HRD grew out of vocational education and evolved into that aspect. And because it was originally, many years ago in vocational education or related to that, it oftentimes is in a college of education. Sometimes you'll see it in a college of information. Where I came from, UNT, it was in a college of information. You'll see in oftentimes also colleges of technology. That kind of makes sense if you think about vocational education and technology management. That all kind of relates to that. But I'm really excited that, and I hope this is the beginning of a new trend for us to be in the College of Business, because we need to be in the College of Business because our graduates are going and sitting at the C-suite, and they are working. They're either working as chief learning officers or something at that C-suite, a VP of human resources. And so to be in the College of Business And to have that acumen is really an important aspect of that. Brittany, just to show that I'm not fibbing, will you go to that HRD program link? And that's going to open up a website. And then you can just pull that website up over so that we can see that screen. So while Brittany's doing that, what Brittany's point, what she'll be bringing up is the Academy of Human Resource Development website. And that is our professional home. And what you see in here is there are academic programs in human resource development. If you just scroll down a little bit, we have a program of excellent network. And Paul Roberts, who is our delegate for UT Tyler to the Program of Excellent Network, was not able to be here today. He has like 4 different meetings at the same time period. But of all these, I can tell you for sure, of all these programs here on the Program Excellent Network, we call it PEN, is the easier way to say it. All the PEN members, we are the only one from the College of Business where we have a PhD program. So that's a very unique, distinct aspect. Now, let's go ahead and go back to our deck, Brittany.
Dr. Nimon, is it okay if I speak to that for a moment?
Yeah, sure.
As a benefit of this, because if you think about it, like graduating from the HRD program at UT Tyler meant that I got to go into a business school as a faculty member. And so I'm teaching classes like org behavior, org development, change management, research methods, all the types of courses that we teach in HRD, but my salary income is quite substantially different than my colleagues in the College of Education. And that's just something that I think is really important because earlier this year, I was being headhunted to other HRD programs that are listed on that PEN network. And because they're in the College of Education, they weren't necessarily going to be able to pay me as much, but it's the same type of classes that you're teaching if you go to a teaching institution that's College of Education or one that's College of Business. And so there is a really big benefit, not to mention the consulting opportunities. I think we have a little bit more benefit there because we do have greater partnerships with our business leaders when we're coming out of a College of Business. And so for me personally, that was a huge determinant for why I chose UT Tyler as my program.
Yeah, and I think Mandelin's unique in many ways, but in this particular aspect, she's not unique. And that we get a lot of students that have MBA degrees. And I'm pretty sure Mandolin had an MBA coming in. And it works out really, really well to come in with an MBA, especially if you wanted to go into higher ed. Come with an MBA, get a PhD in HRD, and then and you're going to see a slide here that shows a lot of our alums that are in institutions of higher education, and they're teaching primarily in management departments. And so if you're looking to pivot your career, that's a really nice pivot. And we also, obviously people coming in with a master's in HRD works well, but the people that are going into management, I think most of them have an MBA, get their HRD PhD, and then pivot into a management department. I want to say this because I'm afraid I'm going to forget. Different programs are accredited by different accrediting bodies. Mandolin knows that because she's in the middle of her accreditation, I don't know, interview. I haven't been involved in that process, so she's ahead of me on that. But she's got people coming in to check her out or check out her program. So one of the accrediting bodies is AACSB, and our PhD program is not accredited by AACSB. And there'll be a long story about why that is, but part of it is because we are the only PhD degree in our College of Business. But what I can tell you is, even though our program is not accredited by AACSB, our graduates are teaching in AACSB colleges. So it's always important to see where you get your degree from, because where you get your degree from, to some degree, dictates where you're going to get a job. And so, go ahead.
To that end, I know there was myself and several other alum, Greg Kiefer as well. What we were told when we were on the job market was that because UT Tyler's College of Business is AACSB accredited, that we graduated from a AACSB accredited institution, and that it wasn't that our program had to be AACSB. And so that still made us very, very marketable on the market, and it actually didn't hurt us that the PhD in itself was not, as far as the employers that we were interviewing with. And I've heard that from other alum as well. So obviously it's going to depend upon the institution in which you're applying. But my experience and the experience that I've gotten feedback of my colleagues is that the fact that the PhD program at UT Tyler is not accredited by AACSB. It's still an accredited program, of course, but the college itself is, the College of Business is AACSB, that was all anyone needed as far as my credentials. And so, you may see that when you're on the job market and what your decisions are, where you go with that. But as far as my understanding from several of our colleagues is that was the same feedback they received as well.
Thanks. And I want to introduce somebody else in here. We've got Janice in here. Janice, oh gosh, I never say anybody's last name. You go ahead and say what your last name is. I'm always afraid I'm going to mispronounce it.
Every time she says that, I tell her it's Lambert.
Oh, it's
That's
not.
my main name. It's like, just say Lambert, it's fine. My last name is pronounced Cretan, which is nothing how it's spelled because it's French. So it has too many vowels and it has a silent H. And it doesn't make sense to me. If it's silent, then why do we even put it in there? But we pronounce it, my husband and I pronounce it Cretan, but it's really Chrétien.
But Janice is a PhD candidate. She is almost, she can see the stage for where she's going to get hooded. And I saw you kind of shaking your head a couple times when we're talking about being in a college of business. So I didn't know if you wanted to share a couple thoughts about that.
Well, because I also teach in the College of Business for two different schools. And having an MBA also puts you at a great advantage because it allows us to teach. I think when I looked, one of the schools I teach for, there were probably 15 to 20 courses that we are eligible to actually teach because of our MBAs and then our PhD and HRD. So it does open us up to do a whole lot.
Okay. So thanks for that. All right, so I'm going to move on because I know I need to leave time for other folks to speak and for you guys to ask questions. But let's go, Brittany, to the work with leading scholars in the field because I want to show you these folks. And you've seen or you've talked to Greg. You've heard me babble here for a little bit, but we've got some other folks here. So Brittany, that's going to pull up a website. Perfect. Okay, so you see me. I'm not so important, but Yeonchu Cho. She is brand new to our program. Yeonchu, do you want to say a couple of words about you and what your research interests are?
Sure. My name is Yeonchu Cho, and coming from Indiana University, and I'm excited to work here because this is the only place you can meet just all HRD doctoral students. I really love that. And my interest area, action learning organizations, international HRD, and women in leadership. Great to see you guys.
Thank you. And Yeonchu is the incoming, she is the editor of Human Resource Development Review. I want to say this before I forget. So there are 4 journals in the Academy of Human Resource Development. Of those, 3 of those 4, we have had faculty as editors, associate editors, or associate editors. That's pretty cool. The only one that we don't have is Human Resource Development International. But Greg Wong served as quantitative methods editor for Human Resource Development Quarterly, which is a highly, highly ranked SSCI journal. It's ranked 3 in labor and human resource management out of, I think, 3 out of 63, which is really a great ranking. Yeonchu, I said, is the editor of Human Resource Development Review. Rochelle McWhorter, who's going to say hi here in a little bit, is the associate editor, if I say this right, in Advances in Developing Human Resources. So again, the only one that we're missing is Human Resource Development International. So maybe somebody will pick that up. Paul Roberts, I mentioned before, he is our delegate on the Program of Excellence Network, and Judy Soon, who I don't know if she's online or not, but she is on the board of directors for the Academy of Human Resource Development. And Greg Wong, who you already talked about, I mentioned, has been the editor of the Journal of I forgot what it's called, Chinese Journal of Human Resource Development, and as
Journal
well
of Chinese Human Resource Management.
Oh, so sorry. And then the Quant Methods editor, I took over his job many years ago as quantitative methods editor for HRD2. But Rochelle, you're online. You want to say a couple of words?
Sure. Well, welcome everyone. I'm Rochelle McWhorter, and I'm an associate professor here in our department. And my research interest is virtual HRD. And so right now you can imagine how busy I am, because it seems that now that we have had remote work and so forth, there's lots of articles, lots of scholarship being an interest around this topic. So I'm pretty busy with my own research as well as helping others with theirs. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. And I want to go back, and you can go back to the deck if you want, Brittany, is that this process really is this opportunity to develop these relationships and to really work. You're not just taking courses. You're developing these partnerships that can really last as long as you want to continue working in this area. Janice, you want to speak just a little bit to that, because we just finished publishing an article together. And what was that like from your perspective as a student?
I learned so much going through that process, and I had a lot of aha moments, because going through that process just kind of brought together everything that I had learned over my 2.5 years in coursework. It was a great experience. I think the coolest part of doing that, publishing during as a student, was that I got to cite myself in my dissertation. And I know I'm a little nerdy. Mandolin is too, so she gets it. And I think she might have done the same thing. That is really cool to be able to cite yourself in your dissertation. And I'm excited to work on some other projects coming up with some other fellow graduates, some alum, and also professors.
Thanks. And Marilyn, you published as well while you were a student. Did that make a difference into how you got a job or not?
It was huge. Not only did I publish, but I took me to conferences with you, Dr. Nimon, and so my CV was quite impressive, and it really was because of the investment of the faculty at UT Tyler in me to expose me to the academy, get me connected with scholars. So not only are, just amazing scholars there at UT Tyler, but even our friends across different universities and that PIN network and everyone else, our faculty took us to conferences and put us in front of people. They put us in front of the people where we wanted to get jobs at. I'm here in Illinois. I was in Texas at the time. And so getting the publications, going to conferences, networking. I'm being brought on to do research with other scholars. I cannot tell you how invaluable that was. I also got opportunity for consulting. And now what's great for me is I just got to pass the baton on to one of my students who just graduated and is now at the University of Louisville. He did not want to go down to the Texas heat. He was a wimp about it up here in the Midwest. But he's there, and his dissertation chair hand-selected him, which is Dr. Brad Schock, which is a huge name in employee engagement, which Dr. Nimon has done a lot of work with Dr. Schock as well. So I brought him on with consulting and research to be able to pass on the baton. I never could have done that for this young man, to get him into an R1, D1 institution on a full ride, had my faculty at UT Tyler not invested in me and help show me the ropes and walk me through that entire program. I'm both on the scholarship and the consulting side, so invaluable, absolutely.
And if you go to our LinkedIn page for the HRD program, you'll see that we're having some conversation. I think there's a link to Mandolin's college's website. She and Brad just did a webinar. I can't remember, since COVID, I don't have preferences. Yeah, they did a nice deal about employee engagement. So it's fun to kind of see, to see our graduates really blossom and work with, pillars in the field. Okay, so I'm kind of already talking about the networking with alumni, but let's go ahead and let's kind of show you where some of our scholars are. Okay, so I think this changes kind of on a pretty regular basis, but this is, at least it was current as of probably Labor Day. You can kind of get a sense, and I'll just kind of quit talking and just let you look at that, but get a sense of where our graduates are going that are in higher education. And Brittany, if you will pick up University of Dallas, pick up that link. I just want to highlight Julia. So Julia and Mandolin kind of went through the program together. So they were both my advisees. And so like I think when I had directories, they're all kind of all mixed up together because they went through the program at a similar place. But Julia is very unique because she of course, she got her PhD here. And she is at the University of Dallas, which was the first AACSB accredited DBA program in Texas. And because of the work that she did here in our HRD program, they specifically hired her to teach the quantitative methods core in their DBA program and to kind of bring the level of that up. So that's, again, it's kind of coming back to this whole issue about research, but you really do, you learn enough to teach a quantitative methods core on your own. She has an MBA, and I'm sure they appreciate that, and she teaches some management courses as well. But the reason that she got that job was because of her knowledge of quantitative methods, and of course she had a pretty good vita by that time with good scholarship, and she had an amazing dissertation that was a very good calling card for her when she went out to interview for positions. Okay, so Brittany, we can go back to the deck. Yep. And I just want to go ahead to scholar practitioners. I just want to highlight one of our great scholar practitioners, Paula Anthony, and you can connect with her on LinkedIn, and you could she wasn't able to be here today, but you could connect in with her and ask to talk to her about the PhD program. Paula, I think, we've had many of our alums receive to receive a Dissertation of the Year award. I'm pretty sure Paula received the first Dissertation of the Year award from UT Tyler. I don't know if she was in the first cohort. She was either in the first or second cohort that started before I came here, which is why I don't know exactly which cohort she's in. But anyway, she's done an excellent job using her degree, and you can see she's doing some consulting now as she has transitioned out of the UT Health East Texas position that she was in before. Janice, and you can go back to that slide or back to the deck, Brittany. And Janice, you want to talk just a little bit about the perspective of the HRD program from the perspective of a practitioner?
Absolutely. I picked this program because of the faculty. I had, the names were popular. They popped up a lot. I would see, when you start in your research, you're going to become very familiar with certain names of people, of scholars who focus in the same area that you're interested in. And so that's why I chose the program. But I decided to get my PhD because my husband and I wanted to be gypsies and buy an RV and put our Harley Davidsons in it and drive around the US and explore the country with the wind in our face. And so I thought, well, I'll get a PhD and then I will have the knowledge to do anything that I want to do from anywhere that I want to do that. And so what we've been able to do is we've been on the road for a year. It's awesome. I love it. I recommend it. But I'm able to, from the things that I've learned in this program, I'm able to freelance. And so I write lessons freelance. And the great thing about freelancing is that I can work when I want to work. And I don't have a boss expecting me to be there at a certain time. So if the weather's bad, then maybe I say, okay, well, I'm not going to be doing anything today. I'm going to write several lessons. So I've got a couple of different companies that I freelance for as a content expert. And then also, I don't know if anyone on here is familiar with gig work. There are several platforms out there, such as Freelancer, where you can actually go on and say, maybe I need to make a little money because I want to go see this really neat museum this weekend. So I need some spending money. And there are so many people out there that do not understand quantitative research, and they have all this data and they don't know how to analyze it. They don't know what it means. That I could go on to Freelancer today, and I'm sure there's probably at least 100 gigs on there, and I can pick up whichever one I want just to take somebody's data and put it into R and analyze it and get back with them and let them know what their data means. Just based on what I've learned from Dr. Nimon and my writing skills that have improved through the program. And it's neat because I have that knowledge and other people need that knowledge, I'm able to bid pretty aggressively on what I want to be paid in order to work. So that's how I use the program. I also teach adjunct online, and I do teach in the School of Business as well. And I also teach, and this is I want to say the way that I give back is I also teach in the prison system in Texas. And that's been very rewarding. But I could not have done any of these things without the education and the guidance that I've gotten. Mandolin sent me a private message when we got on and said, "Hello, sister." And even though we're not from the same cohort, that's the relationships that I've formed. I'm working on some Scholar with Julia right now. So that's neat, but it's really cool to get messages from other people. Where we all started at the same time. So now they're graduated and I get emails and they'll say, "Hi, sister, checking on you. How you doing?" And I do the same thing back. So, and I have friends from several cohorts, and I will tell you that I absolutely positively would not have made it through the coursework without my brothers and sisters in my cohort.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, you gotta have a friend to get through these courses. That was true when I went through it. It's certainly true here. Several friends. Yeah.
And
okay. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
I was just gonna say I don't want to graduate because I'm gonna miss Dr. Nimon.
I'm just
promise you, Janet, she still checks up on you. She'll still give you a call and everything. I promise. I still get those calls. Yeah. She's still listed as VIP in my phone. So every time I get an email or a call, it blinks on me, even if it's on silent. She's not going anywhere. She doesn't get.
Okay, so let's go to the curriculum. I see Alicia's got her face on. So let's go to curriculum real quick and talk through that.
Kim, we have a question in chat that may come into play here.
Okay.
Someone is asking whether you require any leveling courses for people who don't have the ideal major under or master's for acceptance into the program.
Yeah, I see that. We have, to my knowledge, we have not done that, but it's something that has come up in recent conversation. And so it might be something that we could consider. I know oftentimes people are kind of nervous about the quantitative methods aspect. And so we've got a master's in a master's statistics course that we're getting ready to roll out. And that would, for example, might be a nice leveling course. And then I think Yunchu had an idea of a leveling course. So we have not done that, but that's something maybe we will consider. Let's go down, Brittany, there's the courses that are listed down. Yeah. So you can see, look at that, 27 hours in research. I don't think there's another PhD program in HRD that has that many. What's unique about the program is we take you all the way from almost nothing. Like we do look to see that you've got something in your master's program from a quantitative methods. We take you all the way up to structural equation modeling and beyond, because the fourth class has all sorts of different analyses. On top of that, you also learn qualitative research. And so you come out as a really well-rounded researcher, also understanding how to do research design, how to develop your proposal, and to kind of, get all that, get to the place that you can be successful in your dissertation. Every course you're taking is thinking about or preparing you for your dissertation. We also have, just scroll down a little bit, we have this ODC specialization, so organizational development. So we've got a great consulting class, an intervention class, and then another seminar on organizational change and development. So especially for those folks that are becoming scholar practitioners, they like that OD focus. And so I think that's another unique aspect. There is another program in the academy at Colorado State, and they have a focus on OD. But again, I can't think of another program that has a specialization OD other than Colorado State and U. And so that's a nice aspect, especially for those that are staying in corporate world. Okay, let's go back to the deck. And I think I'm almost done. Okay, let's go to delivery method and all of that, and I'll be turning most of that over to Alicia and her team. Okay, I'm going to talk to this one slide, and then I'll let them take it over. So we're in executive format. And so what that means is you come in 5 times in the fall, 5 times in the spring. And so like it's PhD weekend. And so it's PhD weekend this weekend. So folks are coming in for class from 5 to 9 Friday, from 8 to noon Saturday, and another class from 1 to 5. So the way that program is designed is you get through all your coursework in 2 hours. 2 hours. I wish it was 2 hours. You get through all your coursework in 2 years. It's an intense 2 years because you take 3 in the fall, 3 in the spring, 2 in the summer, and repeat. 3 in the fall, 3 in the spring, 2 in the summer. And then you move on to your dissertation. So it's incredibly intensive in those 2 years, but you are done in 2 years. And then you can hopefully keep that same momentum, and you could very reasonably get done in 3 years. So take a year for your dissertation, and you should be able to finish the whole program in 3 years. If you want to take a breath and do the dissertation at a slower pace, you can, but I think it's really great for those people that can kind of keep that momentum and get that done in 3 years. In between class meetings, you're doing things on Canvas. And so everybody knows in my quant methods course, I've got just the way the content we're trying to learn, you can't learn that 5 times a semester. I just don't think that works. So we chunk it, and there's a little bit that you learn every week. And then we come together and we meet as a group and talk about things that are kind of hard to do online when we're working asynchronously. And so that's kind of, and then everybody teaches their classes a little bit differently, with the exception that we all come together 5 times or 4 times in the summer, and then do other things in between. And there's lots of, the cohorts all have Slack, and they're all communicating and working with each other, so there's a lot going on there. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to the graduate school and let them talk about all the other that non-academic aspects.
Hello, everybody. My name is Brittany Riley. I'm the Director of Graduate Admissions at UT Tyler, and I will carry us on from here. So just a little bit, obviously, the cost and funding opportunities available for you as a student are one of the most important aspects of whether or not graduate school is a good fit for you. So we cannot provide an exact amount of the tuition and fees because they do vary over time, but you can estimate about $30,000 for the entire program as a Texas resident. That is based on the enrollment that Dr. Nimon recommended, the 3, 3, and 2 per year. If you're a non-resident student who's traveling to Texas from out of state, that number would be quite different, and we can provide an updated estimate for you. Now, if you are a non-resident, there are opportunities for you to get in-state tuition fees. So for example, our new graduate fellowship is a scholarship that's available to all students, whether you're in-state, out of state. It is a $1,000 award, and it also grants in-state tuition to students that are non-residents of Texas. And to be eligible, you will need to be enrolled full-time in the full-term semesters, the fall and the spring, which this program does prompt you to do with the degree plan. And you will need to meet one of the following criteria, which is a GPA of 3.25 on your prior master's degree or your undergraduate degree, if we need to pull that one up and check on that, or a GRE score of 307 or a GMAT score of 500, depending on which exam you took for admission. Now, the GMAT is the preferred test for this program, and we'll look at the admission requirements in just a second. But if you took the GRE, that's fine too. You only need to meet one of those criteria to be eligible for the award. So if you're a domestic student, you get the $1,000. If you're a Texas resident, you get the $1,000. And if you're a non-resident, you get the $1,000 and in-state tuition, which is over 50% difference.
And we have had we've had out-of-state students every cohort I've been here, with the exception of this year. And we've had people come in, from Indiana, from Florida. One time, one of our students went to England, and she was flying in from England. So it works if you're out of state.
The admission requirements, like I promised, it's this part of the process. I'm going to go over it quickly because it really should not be difficult, should not take a lot of effort from you as an applicant. Getting into your doctoral program should be the easiest part of the program. So all you need to do is apply to the graduate school online, submit your official transcripts from all of the schools that you've attended, especially the ones showing your bachelor's degree and master's degree conferrals. You will need to have a minimum GPA of 3.0 on that master's degree. And then they also do require the GMAT or GRE, which is the scariest part, I think, of the application process for a lot of students, not just doctoral, but master's students as well. I understand that some of you may not have needed to take a GRE or GMAT for admission to your master's program, but this is a heavily qualitative program, as you've heard, and the GRE or GMAT is really an important part of the admission process for our students. The GMAT is the required exam, or the recommended exam, but the GRE is acceptable as well. It needs to be taken within the last 5 years. And then for the more qualitative part of the review, they do require you to submit a career statement, resume, 3 letters of recommendation, and then a writing sample may be requested, and an interview is usually conducted as well to pick the final cohort. This program does typically receive more applications than they have spots to fill, so it's important to really choose recommenders who can comment on your ability to be a good graduate student in a program such as this. It's important to study and do your best on the GMAT. Don't stress about it. Just do your absolute best, and preparing all of these documents to make sure that you're putting yourself in the best light possible, and making sure that you're highlighting your skills and talents so that the academic department can make the best informed decision possible. And if you guys have questions about any of these requirements, please do feel free to ask us. Like, if you want us to look at your unofficial transcript and take a look at that, we can definitely do that. You can email those to us. We want you to feel prepared to begin the process and feel confident and sure that you know what documents we need and all of that before you get started.
So Brittany, Alicia sent me a chat asking me if I would speak to career statement, and so this is what we're looking for in the career statement. I want to get a sense, and it's not just me. It is the HRD faculty that are making the admit decisions. We want to make sure, to the best of our ability, that there's a connection between what you want to do and a PhD in HRD from our program. That's what we're looking to see. We're looking to make sure that there's that connection. And if you say you want to get this PhD and you want to be able to teach accounting, we're not the program for you. You're not. I don't see any way you would be able to take this PhD and parlay that into teaching accounting. So that's just kind of an example. If you're looking to make a big career shift, but don't have the career experience, then I would be worried whether a PhD might be appropriate for you. So you don't want to become overeducated and with not enough experience. So I see Janice kind of agreeing with that, and Brittany agreeing with that. So that's what we're looking for, is that there's a connection of what we offer versus what you want to do. And I talk to people many times, and we weren't the right place for them. And so I point to them. In one case, I pointed them to another program we had here at UT Tyler. In another case, I pointed them to a program in another institution. So our goal is to make sure that we're that key to whatever it is that you want to do, and that there's a good connection there. That's what we're looking for. And sometimes that doesn't come through in the career statement, which is why the interview is really, really important. At least me, I kind of presume that at this stage in the game, after having a master's degree, that you're probably pretty good at school. So now it's like, but the doctor is a funny thing. And I know I didn't really understand all the intricacies of it. And I didn't understand that where I got my degree said where I could go after that. So I didn't understand all of that. So what we're trying to do is to use our kind of knowledge about that process to make sure that when you're done, you're going to be able to do what you say you want to do. Now, sometimes people change their minds, and that happens as well. Sometimes people say, no, I'm not going to go into academia. And then after they kind of get into it, J. Mark Clardy is somebody like that. I don't think he intended to get into academia, but now he's sitting as a visiting assistant professor at the University of Houston Clear Lake. So people do kind of change their minds about what they're going to do. I think maybe because we make academia look so much fun, they all just want to kind of be like us. So we'd love to have you all as members of the Academy.
And if you've been sold on the program thus far, this program does admit new students in the fall semesters only, and the fall 2021 application is set to open for applicants next month. We're rolling out a new application, so assuming that our testing and everything goes well, that will launch toward the middle to end of next month. And the priority deadline by which you will need to submit your application and the documents we mentioned is April 1st, 2021. If there is something like active duty, for example, that's stopping you from meeting that deadline, that is okay. If there is room still available in the program, you could be considered after the deadline. However, for the best possible chance of being accepted and reviewed and all of that great stuff, including funding and all of that, April 1st is the priority. We do need official copies of your academic transcripts and your GRE or GMAT scores. And then the other documents, such as letters of recommendation, those will just be emailed to our office and we'll get them taken care of for you. The Office of Graduate Admissions will be in contact with you throughout the entire application process. We'll let you know what you're missing. We'll follow up about the deadline, all of that good stuff. We'll attach all of your documents to a file, and the academic department, as they mentioned, will be the ones to actually review and make a decision. And just as you can see there, to reiterate, the scholarship deadline is May 1st, and the faculty do need time to review your application, so be sure to get your stuff in by April 1st if you want to have a chance to be reviewed for that. And I think, like I said, the application process is quick, so that wraps that part up.
So there's a couple questions on the chat. Let me see if I can take those. Somebody's asking about the timeline perspective, whether you're expected to move along to your cohort and what if I'm able to do that. So this is what I know. And this is my, somebody should tell me this, my 6th year here, or I guess, or maybe it's my 7th year. I don't know. I started in 2014, so somebody can do the math. The folks that come in with their cohort and stay with their cohort are more successful than the people that get out of sync. Now, there are exceptions where somebody comes in from the day one and says, you know what, day one, there's no way I'm going to do 996, 996. Not going to do it. So the most I can, this is a scenario, the most I can take is 6 hours. And so then they sit down with advising, they sit down with the PhD program coordinator and go, okay, let's come up with a plan for you. And there has been one student that has been successful, that stayed with the program in that scenario. I can't think of another student that's been successful in that scenario. So sometimes what happens with folks is they get in, it's a little bit too much, they drop out of a class, they then go on, they're out of sync now with their cohort, and they get through coursework, and usually they kind of drop off. So the cohort model really, really works, and staying with your cohort and the 996 really, really works. Like I said, but it has worked at least in one case where somebody we came up with another plan, but they came into the program knowing that. So I think that's a difference. If you come in with a program and you come up with a very specific plan, that can make the difference. So that's my answer to that question. Somebody else, Jared asked a question, how many students are admitted to each cohort maximum? The maximum we can admit is 15, the absolute maximum. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Do we want to just do chat questions, Alicia, you think? The chat's moving really fast.
Sure. If you have any other questions, you don't have to ask them in the chat. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question. Here's another question for you, Kim. Can you tell more about what you're looking for in a writing sample?
Yeah, well, ideally, you would have something that's close to academic writing. So, I came in, I've been an engineer for a long, long time, and went back to get my master's, and didn't have to get the GRE or GMAT because I was of a certain age. I was over 40, and so they said I didn't have to have a GRE and GMAT, so yay for that. But I've written corporate documents, as an engineer. I've not written an academic paper. So the academic papers that I wrote for my master's program were what I submitted as writing samples for my PhD application. And that's what we're looking for, are academic applications, academic writing, that writing style. We use APA 7. We're all adjusting to APA 7. So that you know how to write in an academic way. That's what we're looking for, that you can kind of, put that kind of thought process together. That would be great. And Mitchell asked, do published articles count as a writing sample? Yes, that would be a very good example of a writing sample. Shanice, I'm terrible with names, okay, from Arkansas, so everybody's name, Bob and Kim. So
you said it correctly, Shanice.
Okay, good. So you talk about networking. Do students find it easy to produce a dissertation committee and chair? Okay. So your HRD faculty, somebody from the HRD faculty will serve as chair, and then once you and a chair are paired up, then you work with your chair to fill out the rest of your committee. Committee members, there need to be 3 people on a committee. 2 of them have to be from the HRD department, and 1 person can be, all 3 can be from HRD, that's fine. Or 1, you can have somebody from the outside. You can have somebody from outside the HRD department, but within UT Tyler, or you can have somebody outside the institution. And so, I don't know, Mandolin, did you have anybody from outside? I can't remember. I think you had local people, but sometimes I have my candidates have somebody from outside. I've had Tom Rio, who's the current editor for HRDQ. He was on Julia's committee that we talked about before. Oftentimes, if there's somebody that I think is a good fit for the topic, we'll bring in somebody from outside. I think it's nice because, you're used to us, and to have the perspective of somebody outside the institution that's an expert in that field or an expert in that methodology is a really good way to increase the reliability and validity of your work. I think it's really good, and it helps get you known outside your institution, which is very, very good if you're looking for a job outside of this.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Did we catch all the questions?
I think so.
Okay.
Oh, we've got one more. If not working in the corporate world, but in K-12, is that a hindrance?
No, we've had, I think we've been really successful with folks that are working in K-12. Oh my gosh, her name, Sonia George is one of our candidates, doctoral candidates. You see me pause sometimes because the difference between a student and a candidate has passed our prelim exams and is in the stage of doing dissertation. But Sonia George, I forgot, she does something in one of the Houston ISDs in their administration. And we've had some other folks in administration in K through 12. Kristen Scott, who is supposed to be here today, kind of representing academia, was at Tyler Junior College, I think in an area of administration, and she pivoted to becoming a full-time professor of management, and she's at McNeese University. But of course, McNeese got hit with a whole lot of water, and I don't think they have internet yet. Anna's got her hand up.
Well, Eric asked a question about the dissertation writing, and I'll tell you, going in to the program, I would say that was everybody's biggest concern is writing the dissertation, but they prepared us so well that it wasn't any different than anything we'd been doing all along, if that makes sense. I mean, I look back on mine now, being here at the end, and if you would have told me 4 years ago I was going to write a 300 or 400 word document without crying, I wouldn't have believed you. But I really haven't cried. And whereas in my master's program, I cried a lot. It was a lot of writing, but they prepared us so well that it's the last thing you should be worried about in the whole program. And also, I'll put this out there about myself. I share this with my students. I have 2 learning disabilities, and I made it through this program with a 4.0 because the teachers understand that and help me with that. And it's funny because one of my learning disabilities is dyscalculia, and a lot of people don't know what that is, but I see numbers similar to how a dyslexic person sees letters, but Dr. Nimon gets that. So she checks all of my numbers real well, because sometimes I might have trouble with, flipping numbers or rounding numbers. And so their goal is to help you learn, and they are there for you.
Let me jump in just to tag on to that. Also at the very, very end, when you submit your dissertation to the graduate school for format review, we have an excellent editor who will make sure that every period in your references is there, every comma is there. So we have that process for you at the end. So your faculty and committee will help you with the content, and the graduate school helps you clean it up so it's ready for publication when you submit it. So that's nice to have as well.
Thank you. And I wanted to say, I just shared it in the chat. We have a LinkedIn account that you can kind of, follow us and just, kind of get to know different people. And so I just put that in the chat, but it's UT Tyler HRD. So, and if you forget, just email me at k9@uttyler.edu, and it's on my signature. Happy to share that with anybody.
Can I make one more really quick comment, and then I'm going to hop off?
Yeah, I know it's 1 o'clock. Yeah.
When I decided I wanted to be in this program, my master's was in real estate. And so I went ahead and enrolled in the MBA program at UT Tyler and got my MBA in a year and a half so that I could go into this program. And because I did it at UT Tyler, for my electives, I was able to take HRD courses, and which I had Dr. Wong for one of my instructors there. So it did kind of give me that segue in.
Okay, well, thanks everybody. Thanks Alicia and Brittany for setting this up. And if you guys are listening to this on YouTube sometime later, feel free to email any of us and reach out. We look forward, we love talking to you about this. This is great. And happy, I forgot to say this, I'm happy to connect you to an alum or a current student if you'd like to do that. So, and they can talk to you one-on-one.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.